Hello YouTube, my name's Nero and today we have some Titanfall. Today is actually the 1-year anniversary of Titanfall. It came out on March 11th of 2014. Of course, today is March 11th of 2015, so therefore is actually the 1-year anniversary. And they're doing kind of a cool promotional event. If you caught my last video, they're actually giving out all of the DLC for Titanfall for free on all platforms that the game's out on. So Titanfall is out for the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, the PC, and for all those platforms, you can just go and download all the DLC for free, which is kind of a cool thing. They're giving out all that stuff. Now, I promise you this, though. I planned on playing some Titanfall this week and recording it for this week's Dear Nero, because I don't know, I'm thinking about like changing up the gameplay for Dear Nero. Instead of just playing in a bunch of random Advanced Warfare gameplays, which all my videos are Advanced Warfare for the most part, I think for Dear Nero, we break the norm a little bit, where last week we were playing Custom Zombies on the PC, and this week we're doing Titanfall. Next week we'll do, I don't know, something. And I just think it'd be nice to break the monotony of just posting Advanced Warfare gameplay, at least for Dear Nero. So I was going to record Titanfall anyway, then today I woke up and realized it was the 1-year anniversary for Titanfall and they were giving out all the DLC for free. I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. I'm going to play some Titanfall today, and I did. And boy, am I bad at it. I was definitely having a lot of trouble with it, because there's a lot of muscle memory that I have from Advanced Warfare that I tried to implement into Titanfall, and it doesn't work out very well. Like, one of the things I do all the time in Advanced Warfare is I dash forward to get to places quicker. I can't do that in Titanfall, and it's bothering me. Also, the double jumping from Advanced Warfare. You basically press A, you're up in the air, you press A again, that makes you jump again, right? Not in Titanfall. You have to press A to jump in the air, then you have to press and hold A again, then you like kind of drift, like glide a little bit in the air. It's really weird. You'll be seeing probably a lot throughout these gameplays of me just trying to jump randomly, and that's because I'm so used to Advanced Warfare that muscle memory is really kind of taken over. But let's go ahead and hop in this week's episode of Dear Nero, which is why you're here. It's of course the weekly series here on my channel where your subscribers send me in fan mail and or fan questions, and I do have to go ahead and answer them. We have a nice little series of questions here, so we're just going to hop right into it with the very first one. He's going to write, Dear Nero, have you ever thought of doing a Pokemon Nuzlocke playthrough on your Nero's Let's Play channel? It is a very popular thing in the Pokemon community, and since you really like Pokemon, I was thinking you could try it. Thanks for answering, Nico from Vancouver. So Nico is definitely an awesome thing. I like the idea of Nuzlocke. If you guys don't know what Nuzlocke is, I'm sure most of you, probably not all, but at least most of you guys have played Pokemon before. A Nuzlocke playthrough, there's a couple different rules to it. You basically start up a new game of Pokemon, whatever game it is you want to play on. I would probably do something Gen 1 or maybe Pokemon Fire Red or Leaf Green or something. So I like the Gen 1 stuff. I like the Kanto stuff the most. It's what I grew up with. It's my childhood, you know, so I really like that, and I would do it there. But there's a couple rules with Nuzlocke. So you can pick your starter. Some rules say you can't pick your starter, but I would pick a starter. You have your starter, and you can only capture one Pokemon per route. So let's say, for example, you go up in the Route 1. The first Pokemon you find, that is the only Pokemon you're allowed to even attempt to catch, and that's the only one you can get. If your Pokemon faint or die, whatever, they actually die and they're gone. You basically have to put them in your PC and release them. So if you let a Pokemon faint, lose all of its hit points, it's dead. You have to name all of your Pokemon. Yeah, you have to name all your Pokemon so that you try and develop some kind of like an emotional attachment to them, so you feel even worse when they die and you have to get rid of them. And yeah, it's basically it's a challenging version of a typical Pokemon playthrough. You know, if I were to start with Bulbasaur, who of course is my favorite, in Route 1, let's say I catch a Pidgey, and then up in the Viridian Forest I catch a Caterpie. So I have a Pidgey, Caterpie, and Bulbasaur, and I'm going to face the first gym. Well, here's the thing, man. If I do bad in that first gym and all three of my Pokemon faint, I believe I lose. I think that's how that works. You lose if all your Pokemon faint. I'm not sure how the rules on that is specifically, but let's say, you know, Pidgey and Caterpie both end up fainting, Bulbasaur lives, then I have to get rid of both of them, and now I'm left with just Bulbasaur. Two of my Pokemon just died. You know, it's a challenging playthrough. Will I ever do one on Nero's Let's Plays? No, I will never do one on Nero's Let's Plays until Nintendo gets their act together. Nintendo, if you guys don't know, is being very anti-YouTuber at the moment, especially to me. I've done different Pokemon playthroughs on my Let's Play channel. Even on here, I did PokeMMO here on NerosCinema, which was a fun playthrough. We did Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Soul Silver, a little bit of Pokemon Yellow, and Pokemon Fire Red. Wow, we did a lot of playthroughs over on Nero's Let's Plays, right? We did all of those. And they took down part 1 of my Pokemon Ruby playthrough. The Pokemon Company, like not Nintendo, but but the Pokemon company themselves, like the people that make the game, they took down my video, said it was copyrighted, and I haven't been able to get it back. And it was really annoying because it was the #1 video. If you were to type in Pokemon Ruby on YouTube, it was the #1 search result, which I guarantee is the reason why it got taken down. And they probably just, the Pokemon company probably searched for Pokemon Ruby on YouTube and then took it down. It's like, why? I don't get it. But it had well over like 150,000 views. My most successful video on that channel. The most important episode of the whole playthrough, of course, is part 1, where everything gets started, and it's like they took it down. And yeah, until that video goes back up, I'm not going to be uploading any Pokemon or Nintendo-based products over on my Let's Play channel at all. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I was wondering if you've ever been so mad that you've broken a controller or snapped a disc in half over a game. I know I've broken my fair share of controllers over Modern Warfare 2, from Luke in Texas. So Luke, I think everybody has, right? That's really not even that interesting. I want to hear some more hardcore stuff, right? I think everybody's thrown their controller and possibly broken. I think everyone's done the same thing to their headset. Probably a lot of you have snapped a disc or two in your day, and I've done all of these things. But I have a more interesting story. I think I've told it before, but I'm going to say it again because it's kind of interesting. So this was when Modern Warfare 2 came out, and I was having a little bit of trouble, and I was definitely having an ego issue when Modern Warfare 2 came out because I wanted to win every game I play. If you guys have ever played with me, well, I guess a lot of you probably played with me in open lobbies, but I don't have a mic in because Xbox One sucks and the recording's really difficult. But if you've played with me on the 360 where I'm actually talking to people and stuff, I get very, very angry if we're losing in a game. I hate losing at anything. It bothers me. It makes me very frustrated. I get very angry. And I remember we were losing a game of Capture the Flag on Modern Warfare 2. It's on High Rise, I remember specifically. And I got the flag, which this is the reason I hate Capture the Flag. I got the flag, brought it clear across the map, and ended up dying like a few steps away from the flag. Was so angry that I turned to my right and I punched out my window. Punched out my window, ladies and gentlemen. Hand went clean through, and there's actually still, the only scar I have from it is actually on my pinky. And the funniest part of the whole story is we actually won that game by a lot. Like, that was like the very first thing that happened in the game. Like, I ran the other team's base, I got their flag, brought it back, died, got angry, punched out my window. This is all within like a minute of the game starting. We ended up blowing them out that game. I wasn't even really playing because I was more or less worried about the blood gushing from my hand, but yeah, ended up punching out my window and had to pay to get that fixed. And that's my rage story, which of course I guess it's not really something you should be proud of. I thought it'd be a funny story to tell. Is don't go punch out your windows, kids. Don't go punching out stuff. Try not to break your controllers and stuff unless you're the one paying for them. Then do whatever you want with them, really. But try to control your rage when playing Call of Duty. Try to control it. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I'm trying to get royalty camo on all guns in Advanced Warfare. However, I'm having difficulty getting kills with the burst fire assault rifles. I know that you enjoy using them, so I was wondering if you had any tips for using the ARX and the IMR. Thanks, Jackson from Canada. So Jackson, I can definitely give you some tips because I've been using burst rifles in Call of Duty for a long time. My favorite of all time is probably the M16 from Call of Duty 4. Of course, I love the M16 in Modern Warfare 2. The FAMAS in Modern Warfare 2, that thing was amazing. M16 and G11 in Black Ops. It was a little bit harder in Modern Warfare 3, but I still like the M16 in that game. Type 95 was ridiculously OP. And of course, that made A1 in Black Ops 2 and so on and so forth. I've used the burst rifles in all the Call of Duty games. I've enjoyed them all for the most part. Using a burst rifle it requires its own specific play style, I would suppose. If you're using an assault rifle, already you're not going to be moving around as much as you would if you had a submachine gun, just because you know that you're not that good at these close ranges, right? So you kind of stick back a little bit more. Well, if you're using a burst rifle, you kind of have to stick back even more so, because you really kind of lose a lot of power at those close ranges. But the ARX and the IMR are kind of interesting. So the ARX, I basically play it as if it were an M16. I play it as if it were a traditional burst rifle, where I'm sticking back a lot more. I'm using a lot of different clipping, like head glitch areas, where you basically pop up and you're camping behind cover, basically. I do that a lot more with the ARX, pick people off across the map, that kind of idea. Whereas the IMR has such a giant magazine, and it has such a crazy fire rate that I actually use it pretty aggressively. If you've seen a lot of my IMR gameplay, I like to run around a lot more with the IMR. I'm a lot more aggressive with it. And I still hold roughly a 2 KD with the weapon overall, too. It's just, I use it kind of like a submachine gun in a way, which is a playstyle I developed. Because if you remember Modern Warfare 2, those of you guys have played it, and this could possibly help you, Mr. Jackson from Canada. If you played Modern Warfare 2, the FAMAS and the M16 were kind of like the ARX and the IMR of its day. So the FAMAS was actually a lot faster in terms of fire rate, but the M16 had a lot slower of a fire rate, so you basically had to sit back with it a little bit more, kind of like you do with the ARX. But the IMR has a high fire rate similar to the FAMAS, so basically you can run around with it a lot faster and try and get kills. Basically, if you're using a burst rifle and you're trying to use it close quarters like the IMR, you definitely need to work on your aim a whole lot. You need to get all those shots up there to the upper chest and to the head when you're aiming at these people. You can still take them out pretty quickly. Keep in mind, other guns in the game, Ball 27s, ASM1s, they will still outgun you a lot, but if they're using other weapons, you can actually get a lot of consistent kills close range with the IMR. Once again, I would not recommend this with the ARX. ARX just is not very powerful close range. It is a monster, a recoilless monster at long ranges, but you really want to stick back a little bit more with that, and really you gotta kind of understand the map. So if it's a map that you know you can stick back a lot more on, like Solar, for example, use the ARX. If it's a lot more close range, like maybe on Comeback, and you're hell-bent on using these burst rifles on every single map you play, something like Comeback, use the IMR. But if it's a bigger map, right, a bigger map, use the ARX. Those are my tips for you, Mr. Jackson from Canada. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, when Advanced Warfare brought new variants to guns, what did you think when the game first came out, and do you think Black Ops 3 will have it? I personally don't think so. Keep up the very great videos. Thanks, Tino from Australia. So we got people from all over here so far, man. We had one from Vancouver, that's up in Canada. We had Texas here in America. We had Canada once again. Now we're going all the way over to Australia. So my initial impressions of weapon variants in Advanced Warfare. When the game first came out, and I still hold this opinion to this day, I think they're an awesome thing. I think it's great that there's a looting system within Call of Duty. It gives you something to strive for. It gives you something to want to keep on playing. It's like, man, I have a new supply drop. And you also have the RNG fun of opening supply drops. It takes me back to opening up packs of cards back when I was a kid and stuff. And it's fun. You're opening up something random, and you have a chance at something great. And I think it's cool. I definitely think it's an awesome thing. I hope every Call of Duty game going forward actually has it, to be perfectly honest. Do I think Black Ops 3 will actually have it? I want them to, but I don't think that they will. And the reason I don't feel as though Black Ops 3 or whatever the next Treyarch game is going to be, I think everyone's just kind of referring to it as Black Ops 3, but of course we don't know what it's going to be yet. I don't think they're going to have it. For whatever reason, I just have this feeling. I can't give you any reasons as to why. They haven't said anything about it. We don't know anything about the game. But I just have a feeling they're not going to have it for one reason or another, although I hope that they do. I think it's a fun system. You get to have all these different variants within the game, and you can, of course, unlock them, and just the fun RNG factor of it. I think it's cool, and I've held that opinion since before the game came out, because I got the game early, and I was telling people on Twitter, it's like, yeah, man, this thing is cool. I like weapon variants. It's definitely a lot of fun. Like, you get to change around your guns and cater to your own particular play style. It's really kind of neat. Like, if you want to use this certain gun, you're like, man, I wish I had a better fire rate. Well, bam, you can find a variant that has a better fire rate. Or if you want one that has like a red dot sight built into it, or if you want one that has more damage, or you want one that's a lot more accurate and stuff like that. It's really cool that you have these different kinds of variants within the game, while still making it so that the standard variants, like your stock guns, are good enough to be used, and the variants are just kind of like icing on the cake. I think it's a cool system. I think it's definitely great. I think it's the biggest and coolest innovation that Advanced Warfare has brought. They brought a lot of innovations to this series, but I definitely think that the idea of weapon variants and supply drops is the coolest one, and once again, I would like to see that in all future Call of Duty games. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, if somehow there was perfect weapon balancing in a Call of Duty game, would you rather all of the guns be very strong or very, very weak? And this person did not leave his or her name. So, I wonder what you mean by very, very weak. And keep in mind, very actually is capitalized on the second very. So I really don't know what you mean by very, very weak. I will say that in my experience in Call of Duty so far, and I think a lot of people agree with it, probably not everybody, but I think a lot of people agree with it as well. I like it a little bit more in the games where the time to kill on the guns is a bit slower. It allows for a bit more gunplay, and it actually allows the person with the better aim and more gun skill to actually pick up a lot more kills. Like the original Black Ops comes to mind. Black Ops 2 also comes to mind as games where it takes a good amount of time to kill. Whereas for me, like you think of Modern Warfare 2, you melt ridiculously quick in that game. All the guns are really powerful, and none of them have any recoil, and they all have like infinite range. It seems like Modern Warfare 3 is the same way. Call of Duty Ghost was definitely the same way. Call of Duty Ghost, I think, was some of the worst of it, just because, man, you would get picked off across the map, and it's like, oh, Wow, I didn't even know he was there. I didn't have time to react. Just bam, dead. Oh, what was he using? Oh, that was a submachine gun. He's using a submachine gun on Stonehaven. Look at that there. MTAR, take me out across the map. 2 or 3 shots. I didn't have time to do anything. I don't like that personally. I like it a bit more when more gun skill is involved. Where if somebody's trying to peg me across the map with a submachine gun and I have a rifle, I can easily turn around and take that person out across the map with the rifle, and vice versa. I shouldn't be able to, snipe somebody with a submachine gun across the map unless I am just so ridiculously perfect with my aim and I really just outgun the person. Ultimately, it comes down to more gun skill, the longer the time to kill is. Now, of course, I don't want it to be like Halo. Halo is too much gun skill, in my opinion. Halo, what is it? 4 headshots is a kill? And it's like even more if you give them the chest. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a Halo guy, nor do I claim to be, but still, Halo, there was a big learning curve for me when Halo Reach. Halo Reach was the Halo that I really tried to get into the franchise. I tried it. I put probably 2 or 3 days of playtime into it. I just couldn't get into it. But Forge World in that game, guys. Who remembers Forge World? Man, that thing was fun. I played so much Forge World. It was a blast. And I definitely wish a Call of Duty would have some kind of Forge World within it. I think we had a question recently on a different episode, Dear Nero, asking about the idea of a Forge World in Call of Duty. How awesome would that be, man? It would be so cool. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I know that you don't take part in the professional Call of Duty scene, but what are your views on it and the pro player's skill compared to the average Call of Duty players? And once again, this person did not leave his or her name. So this person's right. I don't pay a lot of attention to professional Call of Duty. And the reason for that, as I've said many times, is I can't get into it because it's not Call of Duty, because they're only playing on certain maps, they're only using certain guns, a lot of things are disabled, a lot of things are banned from play. It's not the same game that I'm playing. I'm playing 6-on-6 domination with everything allowed. You're playing 4-on-4 domination on certain maps where a lot of things aren't allowed, and everybody's using only the same guns, and there's respawn delays and things like that. I'm just not a fan of it. I'm just not a fan. They changed around too many rules for me to get into it. That's why I'm not into it. What are my views on professional Call of Duty player skill versus the average Call of Duty players? There is no doubt that professional Call of Duty players are indeed the best players in the world. Any professional Call of Duty player out there is better than me, without a doubt. They are way better, and one of the reasons they get better is because they train. It is their job. Their job is to be freaking amazing at Call of Duty. Some of them have taken the smart route and they've tried to build up an audience on YouTube and a following on social media and a following on Twitch TV. And you'll find a lot of pro players have very successful live streams and things like that. But they also make the bulk of their money from winning tournaments, winning different kinds of events, and all the prize pools that come from that, right? And so as a result, they have to put in a ridiculous, and let me stress this for you, a ridiculous amount of playtime into Call of Duty every single year. They are constantly playing, they're constantly scrimming, they're constantly working to be a better player. It is a full-time job, no doubt. It is a full-time job for pro players to be good. That's what they do. They have to play Call of Duty basically nonstop. And I don't think I could enjoy that. Just on a personal level, I don't think I could enjoy playing anything, any video game ever, if I had to play it as much as Call of Duty pro players do. But if they enjoy it, and that's how they decide to make their livelihood. That's how they decide to make their livelihood. There's no doubt in my mind that they are the best players in the world, because they have to be the best players in the world, because that is literally their job. Their job is to play. And the thing about it is, like, they're not just playing Call of Duty public matches. Well, they still do it. They're most of the time scrimming with their team versus other teams, and it's constantly just the highest form of competition in Call of Duty at all times. Man, that is a lot of stress, and no doubt in my mind that they're way better than your average Call of Duty player. And you want to know my opinion on the skill of average Call of Duty players? I guess I really don't have an opinion on them. They're just playing video games, which at the end of the day is what it's supposed to be about, right? You can be good, you can be bad, you can do with the game what you will. We all pay the same amount of money, and if you want to pay $60 to get the new Call of Duty game and become a pro player and put in a ridiculous amount of playtime, that's on you. If you want to buy a Call of Duty game so you can hop on and play a few hours a week, that's also on you. I don't think the skill of the average player really matters, but like you said in your question, but I think about the skill gap between pro players and average players, it's freaking giant. It's almost inconceivably big. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I was watching a video of yours a while ago, and you were talking about using the Blitzkrieg tactic in Black Ops 2. I was wondering if you could do the same thing in a Battlefield game. Sam from Australia. So Sam, I got so many awesome mental images when I read this question for the first time. So just a quick backstory for those of you guys who know what it is. Blitzkrieg is something, I'm sure a lot of people do it, but I did a lot in Black Ops 2 and I called it Blitzkrieg because I thought it sounded cool. Basically what it was, we would play ground war domination, and I would have a full party, be it my friends or subscribers or a combination of the two, right? We play ground war domination, and we would take every flag. Like usually in domination, right? You take 2 flags and you leave the opposing opposing team over at one flag, and then you just kind of try and spawn trap them a little bit. Oh no! Oh no, we took all 3 flags. We were calling in UAVs and Blackbirds nonstop. We had Hellstorm missiles and lightning strikes around every corner, and we would win every match like 200 to like 15 or 20. Like, it was ridiculous. We wouldn't let them have a flag. We were constantly calling in kill streaks. Blackbirds up the whole game. Just lightning warfare, which is roughly what Blitzkrieg translates to, right? It was lightning warfare, and it was a whole lot of fun. We didn't give the opposing team a chance. Now, when you said, would I try this in a Battlefield game? I instantly got mental images of 32 people all together, riding around in tanks, helicopters in the air, jets swooping by, all of us just going together and taking objectives in like Conquest Large. That would be so cool. Unfortunately, I don't think it would be possible at all, because I think in Battlefield the maximum amount of people you can bring into a game with you is 4, because the squads have 5 people in them, I believe, in Battlefield 4, and you can't queue up into one match with more than that. But can you imagine if, you know, all 32 people on your team were all part of this giant party where all the leaders of these groups were somehow in a Skype call together, so we could coordinate different kinds of things, and, you know, we could have 3 of the 5 flags, and then we could like get on the voice comms and be like, all right, we're taking C. And then all 32 of us, which includes people on motorbikes, people on tanks, people in jets, people flying around in helicopters, people in jeeps, everything. Everyone, all 32 people storming one flag. And the look on the opposing team's face when they would see, like, you know, the 3 or 4 people that may be over there trying to defend it, when 32 people swarm you at once again with tanks, once again with helicopters and all the ground troops, and like I picture like a giant transport chopper that has like 6 or 7 people or whatever just jumping out of it all at once, all hitting on the ground. It would be freaking amazing, although I don't think it's possible for something like that to actually end up going down, just because you can only go into a match with 4 people with you. So that stinks. Now I'm sad. And that's annoying, because I'm a YouTuber, right? I could get this going. There's no doubt in my mind. I can get this crack-a-lacking if I wanted to. I could get on Twitter. I can make a YouTube video saying something message. I could get 31 other people to all go play Battlefield with me at one time. That could totally happen, but unfortunately, just the way the game is set up, you can't end up having that. You can try to have everyone join the same game, but they're going to end up joining on the other team, and you're never going to be able to get it so all 32 people on one team in a game of Conquest Large are all actually, you know, in your group. I just don't think it's possible. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, why do you like the Borderlands franchise so much, and why do you recommend the Borderlands franchise? David from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So David, it's really kind of hard to explain why you like a thing. You know, some people ask for tips as to how to like something. I'm like, I can't give you tips as to how to enjoy something. It's something you kind of got to come to that decision naturally on your own, right? I can't give you tips as to how you like stuff. I can tell you things I like about the franchise, and I think I can tell you why I recommend it so much. So what got me into the Borderlands franchise was, initially I just wanted to try it because a lot of people were talking about it. When I initially started playing the original Borderlands, it was in the late stages of that year's Call of Duty, whichever one it was. Was it maybe Modern Warfare 2? I think it came out. They come out in 2010. I don't remember. Whatever Call of Duty was out of time. It was in the late stages of the game. So, of course, I had played my fair share of Call of Duty at that point. I was kind of looking at other games, trying to find something to fill my time until the next Call of Duty game come out. And my brother recommended me Borderlands. He played a bunch of it, and he really enjoyed it. And I tried it, and I kind of instantly fell in love with it, really. And I played a bit of it, and then beat the game with my friend. Then when Borderlands 2 came out, I was stoked for it, and I of course, continued playing it in the pre-sequel and Tales from Borderlands and all the things they're doing with that franchise. I'm a big fan of all of it. What initially got me into it was the looting system and the RPG aspect of it. So basically, it is an FPS RPG. You are playing as whatever class you want to pick. There's 4 different characters in each game. Each of them has their own specific skills and abilities and talent trees for you to go about. And I think that's one of the cool things is you can really kind of be whatever you want. With all the different skills in the game, you can spec into really any kind of play style you want. Those of you guys that are fans of my Let's Play channel, which I definitely recommend you guys going out and checking out that channel. We did a playthrough of Borderlands 2, and I was playing as Krieg throughout most of it. And Krieg the Psycho was a DLC character. He's heavily driven as a melee character, which is really interesting in a game that's all about looting different kinds of guns. But I even made a guide, which has like 50,000 views now, which is great for that channel, of how to just get a ridiculous amount of melee damage out of Krieg. And I would spend time, and I had a lot of fun doing this, I would spend time sitting there in Sanctuary, like trying to move around all different skill sets, moving around my relics, moving around my weapons and my class mods and all that stuff, and trying to get the most melee damage humanly possible with that class. And then after that, it's like, okay, I think I figured this out. Now I'm gonna respec Krieg, and I'm gonna see how much freaking fire damage and how good I can make this character with guns. And you can do that with really any character, And you start playing the game. What initially drew me into it was just looting the guns and the gunplay, because all the guns, they have ridiculous functions. Like, they all play ridiculously weirdly, and they all do different kinds of things, and it's really unique in that respect. And I thought that was cool. That's what initially drew me into the game. And just having that initial pull into the game, it made me want to keep playing more. And the more I played, the more I got invested within the story of the game. I got more invested within the characters and the locations and the lore of the game, the lore of Borderlands and Pandora and everything about it. And I just got really, really into it. And it's one of those games that seems to really just have like infinite replayability, just because even once you get up to max rank in the game, you make it to max level, you've completed Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and you've gotten through the story mode a bunch of times. At that point, you can continue to go out and play and just trying to get different kinds of legendary weapons within the game, because there is a looting system, once again, where basically there's white weapons, which are very, very common. They're usually not very good. They're usually very, very bad guns that you probably shouldn't use too much, but if it's the best gun you got, it's the best gun you got. Then there's green tier weapons, which of course are going to be a little bit better. Then there's blue tier, which are a little bit better. Then there's purple tier, which is even better. Then there's legendary, which is some of the best stuff in the game. And there's of course unique weapons, and they have really weird ways of performing. Like, I'm trying to think of some examples of different weapons that perform really weirdly in Borderlands. I'm trying to think of some really good ones. So there's one called the Fibber that does a ton of damage. It says it does a ton of damage, but it's only if it ricochets off of things, which is a really kind of a weird gun. There's the Hellfire, one of my favorite submachine guns in the game. It doesn't really have too many unique features, besides it looks freaking amazing and does an absurd amount of fire damage, like a crazy amount of fire damage. There's an RPG called the Nukem, where you shoot it and it explodes, and literally a nuke happens, and like a nuke goes off. It's crazy. It looks awesome. It's great. The game itself, it drew me in with the guns and the looting system. And the more you play, and this is the experience of my friends as well, you get more invested in the story, in the characters, and there's a lot of humor and a lot of pop culture references built into the game. Very good writing. It feels like I'm going on too long with this. I just enjoy the game, and I recommend it because I enjoyed it so much. And I don't enjoy a lot of things. I really don't. It takes a lot for me to get invested in something, but once I do, I'm like a lifelong fan of that thing. Like, there is a ton of things out there in the world that I just don't like or don't care about, and there's a very small amount of things I do care about. Where you look at other YouTubers, especially Let's Play guys, they play through 1.5 million different games. Or if you go over to Nero's Let's Plays, there's really not that much variety in terms of the different kinds of games I play, because if I like a game, I like it and I'll play it. But if I don't like a game, it's like whatever. I don't care. It takes a lot for me to get invested into a game. I got invested in the Borderlands franchise, and because of that, I recommend all of you guys trying it out. Next question, he writes, Dear Nero, I know this isn't gaming related, but what holidays have you been on, and what was your favorite? Love your videos. Keep up the great work. Martin from Scotland. So Martin, it was very clear just by reading your message that you weren't from America. And then when I saw you were from Scotland, yeah, my suspicions were confirmed. You said, what holidays have I been on? Which I know means vacation. Here in America, we call it vacation, but other places you guys call it holiday. I'm going on holiday. So what vacations or holidays have I been on? I haven't been on a lot. I don't like traveling. I really don't. I'm not a fan of traveling whatsoever. One weekend, we went over to Cleveland. These were all when I was younger, keep in mind. We went over to Cleveland in Ohio. We saw like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and stayed in Cleveland for the weekend, which that was kind of nice. And that was really one of the only holidays or vacations I've ever actually been on. The other one was we went down to Florida. We went down to the Tampa, Florida area for my great-grandmother's 90th birthday. And what I can remember from that was how ridiculously humid it was. It gets humid here in Pennsylvania occasionally. But man, Florida was on a whole new level. It was 90 plus degrees with 90+% humidity the entire week we were down there. Like, I am so happy that literally every place down there has air conditioning in it. Because in Pennsylvania, we don't have that. Like, it's kind of a luxury for somebody to have air conditioning in Pennsylvania. Not many people have it, especially central air. A lot of people don't have central air at all here. But down there in Florida, literally every single building has air conditioning or central air or something like that. It's kind of crazy. While we were down there, we saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp. We went boating for a bit because my uncles that we were staying with, they're quite wealthy. They have their own boats and their own planes and stuff like that. Like, what do you call the plane? It's prop plane. Maybe it's a smaller plane. He has his own hangar, and they actually live in like a gated community where it's actually an airplane community. So the roads there in this little community also double as landing strips, which is kind of interesting. So people can take their prop planes, they take off, and they can land from right out in front of their houses. It's kind of interesting. So we flew around in that. I hate flying. Wasn't a big fan. We went out on a boat, and we actually got caught in a storm, almost died. That wasn't fun. There was actually a hurricane happening somewhere even further south at the time. The water ended up getting really choppy, and we ran out of gas out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and that kind of stunk. So we basically floated around for a bit in a storm until we ended up getting cell phone service, and my uncle called up a buddy of his who drove out on his boat and threw us some gas with a rope. Like, he tied this can of gas to a rope and then tossed it over to us, and we put gas in it, and we started speeding back to shore, then ran out of gas again. He had to throw us even more gas, and we finally made it back to shore. And I was gonna die that night, but I didn't. But those are 2 holidays or vacations I've been on. I'm not a big fan of traveling, though. Still, to be perfectly honest, it just, PAX just happened. A lot of people are going to that. Wildcat always tried to convince me to go to PAX. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to go places. I'm a homebody, I suppose. I just don't enjoy traveling very much. Next and final question. He's going to write, Dear Nero. Video games have always been a part of my leisure time. They are something that I've always enjoyed and loved throughout my life. But I'm starting to really grow up now, and I'm going to be facing the real world in about a year or two. I know that when this time comes around, I'll most likely have to give up or severely cut down on my leisure time, which contains my gaming time. And I know that I'll have to focus on life ahead. I've been having nostalgic memories of me and my friends. We would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning in the summer or on the weekends, and we would just have full lobbies going all day. Already, most of my friends have already grown up and stopped playing video games. I feel as though I'm not ready for a change like that. Keep up the great work, David from California. See, this wasn't actually a question. It was more or less just a little bit of a story. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning of every episode of Dear Nero, I say fan mail and or fan questions. I would consider to be fan mail. So, David, I went through the same thing. The exact same thing. When you get older, I told you guys, this is going to happen. To all you young guys out there, have the time of your life playing Call of Duty 4 or 5 hours a night, playing all the time on the weekends, just having a blast the whole summer, just playing video games with your friends, full parties, just having fun. Enjoy it while you can, man, because it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. It happened to me, and it stinks, man. It really stinks. So my history of it, kind of similar to yours, was I would play with my cousin and all my friends. We would have these full parties going. I made Team SB back in 2008, 2009. We all got changed our names. We had SB in our name, and we were like this big group of people. Like, it got to the point where we would have to split up into groups to play Ground War, because we'd have so many people always online, always playing, always in a party chat, just having a blast all the time, really enjoying ourselves. But as the years gone by, people grow up, right? A lot of us at that time, we were 16, 17, 15, 14, 13, depending on who we were playing with, right? We're all in that teenage span of our lives. But then we all get older, right? A lot of people start going to college, right? A lot of people start dating people. They start getting married. A lot of people start having children. People have to go get real jobs, believe it or not. People have to do this kind of thing. And slowly but surely, back, compared to, back in Black Ops 1 days where we would have so many people online at all times, and these are all very close personal friends, that we would have to break up into 2 different groups to go play Ground War because we had more than 9 people. It was definitely a big blast, but none of those people are still around. All of those people they're kind of just memories to me now, which is really sad because they were some awesome people, and I wish them all the best of luck in their real lives, but that's exactly it. They've had to move on to their real lives, and you say you're kind of scared of that happening, and it's gonna happen. Your friends are gonna go, but here's the thing, man. You can still make time for gaming. There's always gonna be downtime in your life. There's nobody I know or have met in my life that has no leisure time whatsoever. It's hard to say for me. I understand that because I'm a YouTuber, right? My job is video games. I'm very fortunate in that respect that I haven't really had to have a major lifestyle change. The lifestyle I had back when I was 16, pretty similar to the lifestyle I have now that I'm 23, right? But I did work real jobs. I remember when I was working at Walmart, I was a second shift inventory associate, which is basically what they call the guy that unloads trucks, and that's what I did. Now, if you're aware of how Walmart works, basically they never hire anybody full time. I think they may have one manager that's full time or something like that, but they just don't hire people that are full time. So basically, I would work 5 days a week, and I would work from 4 p.m. to midnight. on those. So basically, I'd work 32 hours a week for minimum wage. And I remember that, man. I'd wake up probably 1 or 2 in the afternoon ish, and I might play some video games, might not. Of course, I wanted to get a shower, I wanted to eat and stuff like that before I had to go to work. But I would, work from 4 to midnight, and then I would go home at midnight ish. And from there, I would hop on, and I would play video games, and I could play really as much as I wanted. All I knew was I need to be back in work the next day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I could stay up as late as I wanted. I could stay up till 8 o'clock in the morning, sleep till 2, get 6 hours of sleep, and do whatever. If I wanted to, I could. That's what I did. I would play video games until I didn't feel like playing them anymore. There's always leisure time in people's lives that you can find or have. Now, of course, some people have a lot less. I definitely understand that. Some people do work a full-time job. Some people do work overtime. Some people also have families to deal with when they get home from work, and I get that. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be some leisure time. You're never going to reach a point in your life where all of your time, like literally all of your time, is devoted to work and sleep. I don't feel so. I'm sure there's some people have had that, but most people aren't going to have that happening in their lives. But it is sad to say, David, but you are growing up. You are going to be experiencing adulthood here relatively soon. You're going to be moving out on your own. You're going to have to be getting a job or going to school. Maybe you're going to school, you're going to be living at school. That's something that could end up happening. It's definitely going to be a big change, but it's something that ends up happening in everybody's lives. At one point, we all have to stop being children. At one point, we all have to stop being teenagers. It is something that's going to end up happening to most people out there. So that's this week's episode of Dear Nero. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And if you did, please be sure to leave a rating where you guys feel it be, as there's some Titanfall gameplay, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed that as well. I played a bit this morning, like I said, but I don't really have to strive to go back and play more. Oh man, I wanted to regen, right, in that game. I wanted to regenerate, which is basically Titanfall's equivalent of prestiging. I have every challenge done except for one, which involves getting critical hits with the charge rifle, which is a freaking awful anti-Titan weapon. I was having trouble with that, and it was very annoying. I just wanted to re-level up again. I wanted to regen, start from level 1, level up, unlock stuff, because I enjoy the progression system in video games. That's one of the reasons that I could have thrown into reasons why I like Borderlands. There's a lot of progression in that game. But I couldn't enjoy that, and so as a result, I was like, I don't even feel like playing Titanfall anymore. But it was kind of fun to go back and play. I think it's a pretty good casual game that you can hop on, play for an hour or two, enjoy your time on there, and then hop off and really not think about it for a while after that. And maybe a couple weeks later, but like, yeah, I'm gonna hop on and play Titanfall again. That kind of idea. So it's kind of a fun game. Once again, if you guys like to submit your stuff for next week's episode of Dear Nero, it's a very simple process. Just go to my YouTube channel, go to the About tab, and go to the Send Message button. No, unfortunately, I don't feel so you can do it from a mobile device, be it a tablet and or a phone. I don't think you can actually send messages from those platforms, so you have to hop onto a PC and send your message from there. If you guys would like to, be sure to put Dear Nero at the forefront of your message. That way, when I'm going through all my messages, I can easily identify which ones were specifically sent for that week's episode of Dear Nero. Once again, hope you guys all enjoyed this week's episode of Dear Nero, and if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.